we're on a magical journey to a place lost in time and apparently a film company's budget sheets. An abandoned Viking village that has never seen a Viking unless you count those of us with a touch of Viking blood, as you shall see when we finally arrive. It says here that the settler Hrolauga Ragnarsson, son of an earl from Mary in Norway. Oh, that's what the statue is supposed to represent. And Hrolauga voyaged to Iceland on the advice of King Harald of Norway and took his wife and son with him. He approached Horn from the east. This is Horn, by the way. From the east, and pushed overboard the pillars of his throne, and then landed them at Hornsfjordur. But he drifted west along the coast, where he dwelled outside in hard conditions. Then he travelled east and settled on land stretching east of Horn to the river Kvi. He lived first under Skardsbrekka at Horn in Hornsfjordur, and subsequently at Breidabostad in Fellsfjord. I guess this was supposed to be a film set for a film about the man. But they ran out of money. Well, I understand that. So, you've come raping and pillaging, have you?
I wasn't planning on raping and pillaging. It's far too cold. Far too cold.
You can see the resemblance, can't you? You know, I've got my mother's maiden name is Gilson, and well, there were Gilsons out here in Iceland. Hello, Mr. Icelandic pony. I bet you're fed up of people coming and taking your photo. Or are you amused by it? I mean, you look quite docile. I think you're asleep. Are you asleep? Eh? I think he's asleep. He's either asleep or very cold, so he can't move. Okay. Iceland is a place that fosters a certain amount of independent thinking. Cultures that develop in isolation, well, they might be able to do things differently. They create a bit more space for non-conformity, which might be why Iceland has the only phallological museum in the world, i.e. it's the only penis museum. And they gathered samples of penises of many mammals and have had people offering to donate their own. I'm assuming that's after they've died, though I think actually someone suggested them taking it right now. But anyway, that's according to the radio programme that we listened to whilst driving to this Viking village. And I'm wondering if we'll ever get to see it. That's the penis museum, that is, not the village. We are at Diamond Beach near the Jökulsárlón Glacier lagoon. I just can't pronounce these things. Anyway, this is a favourite tourist destination, as you can see, and a really exotic place for Chinese couples to have their wedding photographs taken. The Chinese spare no expense in getting some decent photographs, and they like to feel like superstars. Chinese weddings can last a long time, and often there's a traditional Chinese wedding and then they throw in a traditional Western style wedding just for good measure.
It's surrounded by midges.
They're attracted to your hat.
What?
They're attracted to your hat.
I mean, who wouldn't be?
Yes.
Who wouldn't be? I'm going on a boat trip. It's a duck boat. So it'll drive on land and then it'll plunge into the icy cold Glacier lagoon. Wow, smooth.
Thank you so much.
So the Titanic. My name is Jonathan. I'm going to be your tour guide today. And this here is Ville, our captain. He'll fish you out the water. I don't know, maybe. If he feels like. Well, what he brought to me over here is actually very pretty and probably around 1,000-year-old piece of ice, and comes from that glacier over there. Does anyone know the name of the glacier? Yeah, she got it right away. Wow, good job. Yeah, it's Vatnajökull, which means glacier of lakes. So Vatnajökull is actually the largest glacier in Europe. It's around 8,000 square kilometers or 3,000 square miles and covers almost 8% of Iceland. In short, it means it's absolutely huge. Vatnajökull has around 30 glacier tongues. That one there where you see these black lines flowing down and where all of these ice pieces come from. That one there being the second largest glacier tongue in Iceland, called Breiðamerkurjökull, and is around 21 kilometers or 12-13 miles. But sadly, it didn't used to be that way once. Around 90 years ago, or the year 1930, all that ice and snow and that glacier tongue used to go all the way back to the bridge and the shore where we came from.
Wow.
So that means there was no lagoon, and where we are standing right now, we would be deep inside the ice.
90, still 90.
Yes, so 90.
Ah, okay.
But year and year, it went back and back because of melting and formed this lagoon. And today, we lose around 200 to 300 meters, or around 700 to 1,000 feet of this glacier tongue every single year, which is a lot and pretty scary. And that happens because of two main reasons. One of them is because this is the only lagoon in Iceland connected to the Atlantic Ocean and a glacier tongue. So, warmer salty Atlantic water streams into the lagoon, under it, back up where the glacier tongue is, melts the glacier tongue, mixing with the cold fresh glacier water, resulting in the lagoon to be around a 50-50 salty and fresh. So no drinking it. The second reason for the melting, which is far more sad and far more important, is global warming. So, sadly, everything that you see now will be melted within 60 years. And within 150 years, the whole glacier will be melted, resulting in the sea levels around the world to rise around a centimeter, almost half an inch, just because of vatnajökull. Which maybe doesn't sound like a lot or scary until you think about all the other glaciers that are melting with. Then it becomes even more scary and basically horrible and catastrophic for everyone and would affect us all. So we have to do our best to save our glaciers and slow down the melting. Anyways, this lagoon that we're now is called Jökulsárlón and is the largest lagoon that we have. The lagoon itself is around 3 degrees Celsius or 36 degrees Fahrenheit, and in winter it can go below freezing, so it's always very, very cold. I know it from experience, believe me. This lagoon also has the deepest point in Iceland, around 300 meters or around 1,000 feet, which is really deep. And then actually 10 kilometers behind that mountain over there, or 4 miles, is actually the highest point in Iceland, around 2,110 meters or 7,000 feet, called Hvannadalshnjúkur. So this is a place of extremely up and downs and a lot of hard names to pronounce. In Jökulsárlón, we also have a lot of wild animals. We have eider ducks and Icelandic gulls and actually 60 different species of birds. And in the water, we have seals. Seals come here because the entrance from the Atlantic Ocean, which is just under the bridge over there, is so small and shallow that other predators like sharks, orcas, or whales, they aren't able to come in as they're too big and they're absolutely just too fat. So the seals are the kings and queens of this lagoon. They swim around, they eat all the fishes that we have, like cod, trout, salmon, Arctic char, krill, and they also steal all the glasses, iPhones, and cameras that the people drop in the water. With your stuff, they already stole 2 of my sunglasses. Very sad. So here's the big question. Why are all these icebergs different colors? You notice some of them are blue, black, white, and clear. Well, yeah, the reason they are blue, when the ice is very, very big and very, very large, and very dense and compact, meaning that there's no air bubbles inside or space inside, it absorbs all colors of the light spectrum except for blue light, which is reflected. It's the same principle as the lagoon you're looking at. The water is very large, it's very dense, so it's reflecting blue light. And those parts of the icebergs which are under the water, which are around 90%, it holds its blue color or its density as it's not exposed to the air or sun and won't get melted by it. But when an iceberg flips and the blue side comes up, it'll stay blue for around 2 to 5 hours depending on the weather. So if you see any blue pieces, those ones have newly flipped. After that, they'll start getting melted, getting mixed with air bubbles, becoming less dense, more spacious inside. After that, it'll absorb all the colors of the light spectrum and turn white. It's less dense. It's like blowing air bubbles in the water. Those air bubbles have air inside of them, less dense, white. The reason some pieces are black, like that one there, that have these black lines or zebra patterns, you see, that one there, that is actually volcanic ash from volcanic eruptions that happened maybe a couple hundred years ago or 1,000 years ago. After the eruption, the ash would fall in the glacier and then it would snow on top of it, compressing to ice. The reason some pieces are clear, like this very pretty piece that I'm holding, although this piece is pretty dense, which means it does not have a lot of air bubbles inside, it's just too small to reflect anything. All colors of light go straight through. It's like taking a glass and you dip it into the lagoon. The glass of water will be clear, but the lagoon is blue. It's just small. And another very fun fact about this ice that I'm holding, this ice is actually 4 times harder than your regular ice, and it melts 4 times slower as it is so dense. So it's perfect for drinks like cocktails, cognac, whiskey, prosecco. So if you guys have any, I would like to come share some. As I said before, but I cannot stress this enough because this is basically the most important fact, we only see 10% of our icebergs. 90% of the ice and the mass is under the water, and that matters a lot because we can never get too close. Because if they flip and we're close, the underside would hit the boat, and then we are also flipping. So never get too close to an iceberg. Doesn't matter if you're swimming, on a kayaking, or scuba diving, on a boat. Doesn't matter. And most of these bigger pieces, like that one there will probably be melted within 4 to 5 weeks. And the smaller pieces around us will maybe take 1 to 2 weeks to melt. And every single day, new pieces fall off the glacier thing and float all the way down here. So for me, my cat, and my Zodiac, every single day is like a whole new lagoon. Lastly, before 2017, this whole lagoon was privately owned by a couple Icelandic people. And they would sometimes rent out the lagoon to Hollywood to make movies. So they would close off the entrance from the Atlantic Ocean, taking the warm, salty circulation away. The whole lagoon would very thickly freeze. Then they would make movies like James Bond, Tomb Raider, Batman, where they would drive cars over the thick ice, for example, Aston Martins, Ford Mustangs. They would explode them, crash them, sink them. jump them, which is very cool for the camera and the movies, but not good for the lagoon, as we still have car pieces in the water and movie junk that was never retrieved, which is pretty sad. But in 2017 and since then, this place was luckily declared a UNESCO World Heritage, which means that this is now finally a national park and protected, owned and preserved by the government and UNESCO, which is great. So no more sketchy stuff, except for one thing, which are these trucks, as they are very, very diesel. You can see there has a lot of smoke out of it. But as the government has requested, in the next years, these are going to start to convert into electricity, which is great. So it'll be not as noisy and much cleaner for the lagoon. Well, that should be it. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys learned something new. If you guys have any more questions, just find me and ask me. I'm going to start passing this out to you guys so you guys can eat it or take it home or put it back, take it back to the US or wherever you guys come from. So, who would like it?
I'll take it. Okay.
Anyone take it? You guys get to pass it on, so here you go.
Quick question, we're looking at
I don't know about you, but I'm shivering just watching this, but I'm sure things will warm up once we get closer to Reykjavik. I understand there's some hot springs there that we can leap into and frolic. But in the meantime, please like, share and subscribe, and why not warm up by checking our Malaysian, Spanish and Tanzanian trips. You know it makes sense. It's much cheaper than actually going there.